So you'll see these.
Good idea.
Yeah, you're going to be you're going to be approving these. We're just saying, give us the go ahead so we can start putting all the process.
Can you go back a slide? Maybe a couple slides. I'm trying to refresh my memory as far as.
Because when we did, hey David, will you talk a little bit about why?
Refresh my memory
Yeah.
as far as why these particular reductions are necessary. Because I'm struggling with all of the issues we've had with engineering. I don't want to misspeak, but some of the architecture stuff. Please help me recall why these particular reductions are necessary.
For a number of reasons. First,
Can you put the slide back up?
which slide? There's only two slides.
We're talking the numbers, the numbers. She's looking for the numbers. I thought maybe this could refresh my memory, but I think there's a lot of confusion that I have because I'm hoping that it's not because of errors that have taken place in the estimation process. Is that part of the reason, David?
I think there's a number of reasons, and the first and the biggest that the board should know is that there's no master plan in the history of higher education that a dollar tag was put on it, even when it was reduced, that when you sent it to your construction managers to go build, that it matched the numbers. Have a lot been closer or even further apart? Yes, but that is a natural part of building.
4.7 million on a construction amount of
Well, 18
13?
million on actually 18 million on.
So 4.7, if I was to divide 4.7 into 18 million, it's like really a little over 25%.
No,
So,
that's not the right numbers that you're working with.
Okay.
Give him a chance to give you all the
All right.
numbers.
18 million on $148 million master plan. But that being said, that there were key decisions that were made as part of all of this that did affect the scope. And some, maybe mistakes is too strong of a word, but a lot of it is discovery.
Discovery.
So for example, the firm we've always used forever, not involved with our architects, who did our technology cabling estimating, they were absolutely certain that we could do all three campuses for $1.3 million. When we had three independent estimates that all came in with $100,000, it actually was $2.6 million just for Grayslake.
Wow.
And a little bit of that was we wanted to make sure, we talked to you about having 100 megabit download minimum, but really what it needs to be is 200 megabit.
Okay.
So there was that, as well as going to every line and saying, are we going to have to open a wall here? Are we going to have to bring a new fiber optic to a different part of the campus? So it wasn't thorough on that part. So there have been a host of things. A large number as well, and this is a choice. At South Lake, as part of the master plan process, one of the priorities was a chemistry lab. It rose to the top. We had costed out correctly, converting a classroom. And by the time that we had reached the point of doing design, it just became obvious that we could not convert a classroom, that we had to do an addition. And that tripled the cost. So there were a lot of scope changes. Was there one area where I thought that we could have done a better job at estimating, and that's everyone around me, my construction people, and the whole team involved would have been the A and B construction. We were about dead on what the renovation would be, but underestimated what the guts part of it for the new enrollment center would cost us. Now, a little bit of that is scope 2. dreamed a little bigger as we were going through student development or student success thinking about this, but I should have caught that, whether that number should have been a little bit higher.
Wasn't there the question of putting mechanicals underneath the cafeteria?
Yeah, that was another one too. It is, original estimates had all the mechanicals above ground and on the ground, and the best thing to do is have them in a basement where they're accessible and not as exposed to the elements. So we made the decision to do that. That was a big scope change.
And are all of the players the same right now as when these were budgeted out and not in your group, but the outside consultants? Are they all the same now? Or have any changes been made?
There have been a few individual changes at Cotter Consulting, not with Mortensen, our construction manager. I really do have to emphasize that we set up a system to be able to catch these things, and we did. This is very different than what happened with the previous project that went to bid. It's not that these things won't ever happen again, but certainly of this scale that you find it out now, we can make the necessary changes before you go through all the design work and put it up.
I think you're doing an awesome job. I just want to make sure you're surrounded by the competence that you need so that we can continue to do an awesome job. I know your team is working very hard. I just want to make sure that the outside consultants can appreciate working with the professionalism that you're working with. But I guess I'm a little concerned. Maybe I guess I'm cautiously optimistic, but a little concerned about some of the competence with the consulting groups.
Trustee Paul, I'm not now. I have great confidence in Greg Evans, our facilities director. We are searching for our in-house construction manager, but Greg has proved a good eye for talent. Dorothy McCarty that Cotter has sent to us has just been a lifesaver for us. She's done a great job. She gave the presentation last month, and Leggett has also stepped up quite a bit. We've not been charged a single penny for any of these redesigns. That's not been my experience with other architectural firms, particularly when the client changes the scope. So I'm very happy with the team right now, but as Dr. Weber can assure you, as soon as I'm not, you'll know.
I'll repeat what David said a little earlier too. So I've been involved with a lot of master plans, and he's correct. The typical approach is to sort of list all the projects that you want. Then you sort of take those on and bid them as you go through, and you break them up into chunks, as it were. But there, with the whole state and the deferred maintenance and all these others, we brought them to you and we wanted to price it because, of course, we're in a very tough budget situation. So, and then, of course, there's a time lapse between all of that and doing the final pricing.
I think also what we learned as a board at the last board meeting, the July board meeting, the amounts of time that lapse from what the CDB says, submit your final numbers, and then it's almost a year before those numbers go out to bid. I mean, that's kind of, you wouldn't want to run a business like that, but unfortunately, that's the administrative rules of the state of Illinois that happens, and that should not be happening. But we're kind of constrained by that.
And then we got hit with the uptick in the industry where there's some inflation in terms of construction costs that hadn't been planned on, and that was brought up at the last meeting too. And it's going to continue to go up. So the longer that we wait, the more of an increase we're going to be looking at.
And that's exactly what's happening with Lake Shore. That has been tied up so long in the state's procurement office. I don't think anyone thought that it would, the last time we had a conversation of when that got submitted would be 7 months out. I don't see how that's not going to impact the program.
Right. So if there are any other questions, comments, I think we're saying from those we've heard from you, go forward so we can get this all.
Well, just one other thing, because the last statement actually brings up another piece then, because it does take so long. And as we're moving forward with all of these projects, I think we need to be overly cautious that we're coming in under what we think it's going to be, because by the time it gets there, a number of other factors will have kicked in. So I think we need to be more cautious.
And that's why we have both escalation contingency and design contingency. Is primarily for those things. We don't like to. We want to make sure that they're there, but it's largely for. You don't want it for mistakes. You don't want it for things you forgot. You want it for inflation. If the bid environment changes. So that's why it's important to get the scope of that right now and have the bids.
And your construction management team has told you that those numbers, the reductions in percentages are going to be accurate.
Yes, the best that we can see from industry data today.
We don't want to wait any longer.
One question, the contingency, when you're trying to manage the project, are the contingency items itemized? Like, is there an amount for like inflation?
There is.
Design, those kinds of things?
Every project from very small ones to the very large ones are broken out in quite a bit of detail.
The contingency portion.
Yeah, and the contingency is design, engineering, all the different types of materials, and contingency is kept on a separate line, as well as retention from the contractor, in case that comes in under.
Thank you, David.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Are there any other questions, comments? Then we'll go ahead and proceed, and that concludes my report. Chairman.
Thank you, David.